Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Mom Stories. We'll be back with our regular content in about a week or so. We're talking to Black women in tech, but I did just want to have a special show to talk with two of my awesome mom friends. We're all parents of children with special needs, and I just think it's important to start having these conversations and talking about. What it really takes and the help that we really need. I feel like a lot of people say self-care, self-care, self-care. But I feel like just to get the conversation started, I feel like we need help. Yeah, I can sit in the bath and drink wine and that's fine. But I need somebody to come clean this house. I need somebody to maybe go to the market for me or just come here so that I can leave. So I just want to talk about just all the things around being an awesome mom. So before we get into the topic, I do want to have everybody introduce themselves. We can start with you, Evelyn.
Hello, my name is Evelan Fountain, and I have an 8-year-old son who's nonverbal and he has autism.
Okay, Crystal.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I also have an 8-year-old son who's nonverbal.
And I am Khadijah. My twins are three. They'll be four soon. And they're both on the spectrum. They say they're nonverbal, but I don't know. They sing a lot of songs, so I don't know what they consider that. But let's just talk about that. Right now it's the evolution of self care, right? For moms, whether you have of a child that's on the spectrum or not. Do you feel like that's the answer for you? Do you feel like that will give you a reprieve? That will give you help?
No.
Um, I feel like a little, but it's not like you can't go sit in a bath and say my problems are over because once you come out, they're right there at the door waiting for you. I know for myself, my son will knock on the door until I open it. So it's like, do you really have that moment?
Yeah, I
Right.
um I just think that I know for me, even like when I drop my daughter off, I'll sit in the car, like I will get a latte from Dunkin', and I'll just like drive around a little bit. Um, but at the end of the day, as soon as I come back in, I'm still, need to be had octopus hands to do this and do that, drive here, drive there. So I just think it's more than that. Crystal, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I remember one time I was talking to a lady, and it was a women's retreat, and it was about self-care. And every time someone talks about self-care, it's always for women, because that's what we are. Getting your hair done, getting your manicure, your pedicure, getting, your makeup done, dressing up or dressing down, taking a bath, taking a shower. And she pointed out, a woman, she pointed out, she said, that's not self-care. That for her, she said, that's not self-care, because that's things we do on a regular, washing up, putting on clothes. She says she sees that as putting on her armor. So these are the things that she's doing, putting on, as far as getting her hair done, a special hair occasion or a special outfit. It's her armor to give her the resolve to attack whatever is, going on in her life. And I feel like for me, when I have the moments where I spend a lot of time in the car, I wish it was a tax write off or get paid to sit in the car, because I promise you, I would be a millionaire. And I feel like that is not only just my breathing moment, but it's also my armor, where I'm, getting ready for the war that is coming, who is my son, who needs a lot, like a lot. And even though I have other children, sometimes I get really frustrated with them because they're not helping as much, but then I know that they can only do but so much. And when, it comes time to uh work with him, talk with him, like, we know what he's saying because he vocalizes, and we can talk about vocalizing and being nonverbal, but other people might not. And even to include in the house, like, he will wait until I come in the house to tell me he's thirsty. So
So
when I'm
he's
in the
sitting in the
car,
house all day and won't tell anybody that he wants something to drink.
nope. Or he's cold.
Hmm.
Nothing
Evelyn, I
like a
was going to ask
mom.
you. how is it? Because I know your youngest, like how does he react to having, having to share the limelight? The babies are, usually spoiled, they get most of the attention. Does he ever act out, or has he ever said anything?
So my youngest two are only 15 months apart. So they are very close. Um, he knows that his brother is different, and he says like Daniel is special. So he kind of is like taking on that big brother role. I feel like they clash a lot just because they're so close in age. For myself, my youngest gravitates towards me, and then my son gravitates towards his dad. So I say to people that that's my son's preferred parent. Like that's his best friend. So in that aspect, it wasn't like him trying to fight for my attention because I always had one and then my husband had one. But our dynamic has changed in my household. So my autistic son, he kind of like stays to himself. I can kind of like get the other kids what I need them to do. My 17-year-old, she's pretty much on her own, like, she's self sufficient. But with the younger two, I can kind of separate it as needed. My 6-year-old, he's like, if I'm like, okay, I have to deal with Daniel, he knows, okay, I'm gonna go sit over here, I'm gonna do something. He's in his own little world, and then I can kind of focus on what I need to focus on with Daniel. But as far as like him seeing like a power struggle between the two, I don't really see that. I feel like it's kind of more so my younger one taking on a big brother role.
And when you first, you either one can answer. When you first got the diagnosis, um, what was that like? What was that experience like?
For myself, I felt I felt lost as a parent. I felt lost. I blamed myself. Like, was it something I did? So with my son, he was born at 32 weeks, so he stayed in a NICU. So like that played in my head. I'm like, well, was it something that I did? Like I was high risk with all of my kids. All of my kids were born early, so I'm like, I had to get shots. So I'm like, well, was it the shots? But I got the shots with my last two, and he's neurotypical. So I kind of blamed myself, and I definitely feel like I mean, I'm not gonna say that I blame myself now, but in the beginning, I blamed myself. I felt like I was mourning a child, that the future that I thought I was going to have for my son. I had to mourn that. And I feel like I still struggle with that a little bit, but I don't blame myself like, oh my God, I did something anymore. I feel like, but definitely in the beginning, it was definitely a struggle with that.
For me, I also had my son early. I had him at 27 weeks, and he was 1 pound, 1 ounce. And everything they said that he was going to be, he didn't. Well, first of all, he wasn't even supposed to make it outside of me. Then they said he would have cerebral palsy, he wouldn't have a quality of life, he wouldn't walk, he wouldn't do all these other things, right? So I didn't really mourn. I didn't feel bad because, like you, Evelyn, all of my pregnancies were high risk. He's my smallest baby. My daughter, she was 4 pounds, but she had no. The same thing with her. They thought she had cerebral palsy, and she's fine. And I had to take shots also. What I did was I went to a place of survival and living in constant, and to this day, projecting anxiety and fear because my son's nonverbal. He vocalizes, but he can't talk. He can't communicate with others the way, a typical child would. And then I'm looking at his life, his quality of life, and that I also think I can never die. I'm going to have to find the tree of life and live to at least I'm 100 because I'm in fear that, because our children are our children, and when you have a child that has special needs, and in the world that we live in, having an intellectual disability, there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of mistreatment that goes on in the homes that they stay in. And then I think of my other children, like I don't want him to be a burden on them, because I've seen, you see stories and hear that also, because, I always got to take care of my brother, and they have families, or, things like that. So I, I have days where I'm like, oh, he's going to be the next Elon Musk. He's going to do, he's going to be great because he loves computers. And then other days I'm just like, he's never going to date. He's never going to have children. I'm never going to be a grandmother from him. These girls, anyway. Um, and then I go into that whole thing where, I gotta make a trust. I gotta make this money so I'll have someone to take care of him. So, he'll be taken
That
care of.
that was going to be my next question. Do you guys have any resources that you've learned? Your kids are a little bit older than mine, that can help with that fear, like resources like a trust. Like how would somebody go about getting that? Just to kind of ease the fear of the future and the unknown.
Yeah.
So for me, this is my first experience with the autistic individual. Like in our family, I'm the only one out of my immediate family. I'm the only one with a child on the spectrum. So like feeling like a fish out of water is an understatement for me. So I pretty much Google, read books, I don't really have a circle of moms or parents, period, that I can like really go to and say, like, how do you do this? How do I go about getting this service? So for me, it's been trial and error. And I feel like I'm still in the trial and error stage. My son is 8 years old. He was diagnosed at 3. And I feel like, yes, I made some progress, but I feel like um there, just like people say there's no handbook for being a parent, is definitely not a handbook for being an autistic mom. Like, so it's kind of like you pretty much have to learn on the fly. That I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm learning on the fly. So I've gotten books about trust, how to set up a trust, or different things, and just looking online. That's how I've been kind of, I'll say, coasting, is just by looking online and getting books.
Yeah. I reached out to a lawyer who that's her specialty. And she sent me some information as far as the trust, because I do have a business, and I, have life insurance. And even though my because my son was born, premature, and had a trach and a G tube and everything, I wasn't able to get him covered by insurance. So that's what also made me look at getting a trust. So the lawyer, she's been helping me getting things together. I can't pay her yet, but hopefully soon I'll be able to, pay her, so then she can put everything together as far as my life insurance, my house, and the business, and put it all in the trust, and, so that not only him but my children will be taken care of.
Yeah, a lot of times there are resources available, but you just don't know. Like, I just found, well, my babies aren't old enough, but there's like respite care. I think it starts at 6, where specifically for children with autism, where they'll, get them. And then I also saw something where you can get a home health care aid just for autism. So, I think it's important, and we should try to create a space for um, parents like us specifically, because it's a little different. Like, people will try to tell you that they understand, but you really don't. And it's definitely a different experience. What do you think has helped you the most outside of like just Googling, helping you to like maintain the right mental space? Because it takes a lot of patience, and mental strength to deal. What do you think has helped you, from day to day?
For me, I'm gonna say prayer. That's how I get by. I feel like I definitely agree with you. Like people can say they understand, and like I have a very supportive family, and I know they mean well, but it's a difference when you're outside looking in. So you can have say, oh well, it's try this or try that, but it's like I've tried everything. And like, let's just talk about eating. So my son pretty much eats bacon, chicken nuggets, french fries. Um, he used to eat vegetables, doesn't eat vegetables anymore. So it's like the bacon he eats is $11 a pound. So it's like you get like 8 little pieces of bacon, but I'm like, I have to have this bacon in the house because that's the only thing he's gonna eat. So one of my sisters was like, well, it's other bacon. I'm like, it is other bacon, but I can buy it and he won't eat it. It's just like French fries. If it's not from McDonald's, he doesn't want them. Like I can make the French fries and they can taste just like McDonald's, but if it's not what he wants, he's not going to eat it. So it's like little things like that. Like you can say, "Oh, well, just get this." You can't with a child with special needs. It's like they have preferred items, and if it's not that, that's a meltdown. Like, and for somebody who's looking on the outside, they're like, "But that's so small." Like, but to him, that's a major thing. Like that could look like a breadcrumb to you, but to him, it could be the whole loaf of bread.
Yeah, and they tell you, well, I hear a lot, just pop them, pop them. I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. They're going to continue, like they don't stop. And I know in the black community that pop him, beat his butt. That's not going to work. But you have to see for yourself. You have to see for yourself. Like they basically run the show.
Right. I mean, I
They're the
popped
main
Tyler.
characters.
Right. I popped Tyler and he destroyed my kitchen. He destroyed the tablet. He destroyed his iPad. So it isn't just like, oh, pop them and there's because they have other things that are going on and touching on and Evelyn as far as the food, like my son, he's still tube fed. He gets his main nutrition from that because for some strange reason he won't chew food. He doesn't like chewing food. So he'll chew on his chewy, his comfort blanket, but he won't chew food. He will lick it. He will lick a pill, but as soon as the texture, he doesn't like texture, it gets on his tongue, he starts gagging. But the food he does like, he likes Doritos, but he only licks the flavor off of nacho cheese Doritos, right? And we are no longer in the world where Doritos are two for $1. And he only eats applesauce. Now we thought at one point that it was he just liked the puree, so we can give him other foods that were pureed like applesauce consistency. Nope, nope. Even took him to a specialist, and I told him don't give him anything other than applesauce, or it's going to be a bad day. And he tore that room up when they gave him sweet potatoes. So it has to be cinnamon applesauce, and he will eat that with a spoon. He will eat cups and cups of it. He will lick bags and bags of Doritos.
Yeah. I think the key is to advocate for your kid because people, even the doctor, sometimes I find myself telling the doctors, like, no, I don't want to do this or he's not going to do that quite often or trying to get another opinion. And I feel like, we're our children's biggest advocate and we have to be the ones that say, no, that's not right. He's not going to eat this. He's going to do that. Crystal helped me with that when I first started early childhood intervention. I'm like, the therapists are saying this and they don't want to do it. And she was like, well, tell them that they don't want to do it. Tell them no. I'm like, oh, okay. But they will cause your child stress and discomfort, and you have to deal with the repercussions of that for the rest of the evening. And, I think even the therapists don't get it sometimes. So I think it's important to be, your child's biggest advocate. Do you have any advice for a parent that's just got the diagnosis? Some helpful tips?
Um, for a parent who just got the autism diagnosis, I would one say, don't blame yourself because it was nothing you did. You would never harm your child in any way. So that's just another thing that, like, you know that you wouldn't harm your child. You know, if it was anything possible that you could do for your child, you would do it. If you could take the autism diagnosis away, you would. Your child is still the same child that you had. You just have to learn how to parent that child in a way that's going to benefit that child. I will also say that it's a it's a journey. It's not going to change, or you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but you're going to have more good days than bad, and you're going to learn Your child is going to show you things that you never would dream your child could show you, just based off of somebody telling you that your child is different. So let your child amaze you, and don't take the autism diagnosis as a sentence that your child is not going to be able to do things, because they are going to be able to do things in their own way and in their own time.
Right. I would tell them to breathe, take a nap, because when you wake up, it's game time. And that, just like with, if it's their first child, or just like when they were a child and learning a new instrument or learning a new thing, a new language, to be patient, and also to do your research and study your child. That's what, for me, I had to really study my child. And if they have other children, get everything you know from your other children out of your head, because your child is not that, and they're their own individual person, and that you're both learning, you're both on a spectrum. So not just your child, but you yourself. I know I'm on the spectrum, and you're on the spectrum too.
Well, I hope
One
this.
other thing,
Oh, go ahead.
it's okay to cry, because I know when I first got that diagnosis, I cried. I definitely cried. I feel like I cried in the bathroom. I cried in the car. I cried silently. Like, I cried in my sleep. It's okay. You have to let it out. Don't hold it in. Let it out. And like you said, once you get that out, Crystal said it's game time.
Yeah, I definitely, when you said it earlier about grieving, I definitely went through that, and I feel like I'm still going through that. Just like as I watch them grow, I'm like, wow, they probably won't be able to do this, or, but that doesn't necessarily have to be true. They could be, completely fine. So, I would say to not, project your fears on them. Like they may turn out to be, as normal as they can be. Um, and not to grieve, because they're here. They're
Mhm.
here, they're healthy, and they're probably smarter than we are. So, just take it one day at a time. Thank you, ladies, for joining me this evening. I hope that, we encourage somebody. If you want to contact Crystal, she's the owner of Go Beautiful with two L's, and Skinchellaa, two A's. Um, and then Miss Evelyn, she's the owner of Mom's Little Corner. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good evening.
Thank you.